Hey, what's up, my friends? This is David Wood with another video about the Nephilim. And I'm doing a series on these and just answering some questions about them that I'm finding out there that people are asking me. And I get, I get people asking me questions about the Nephilim, and then I also find it. And so the question is that did God wipe out all of the Nephilim, or are the Nephilim still here? Right, that's the question. Well, I've explained this a little bit in my other videos, that the Nephilim curse obviously came from Cain, and it comes from the mark of the beast. So men who get the mark of the beast actually turn into Nephilim. That's why it says when that's why when the sons of Elohim took the same were the giants of old, right? They were men, and men specifically who got the mark of the beast. And so, first of all, the original Nephilim, okay, and there's actually been I think a couple of times these things have resurfaced. They were wiped out, okay, and why were they wiped out? They were wiped out. A lot of times I think that flood story, and they think that God, for example, is very angry or something like that, and that's all he is. And so he's angry, and people criticize God and say, what a hateful being to destroy everything, because they're not doing what he wants. Well, that actually wasn't the case. What was going on is the Nephilim were getting so powerful, and there was such a huge war on the earth, that essentially what happened is a great tribulation happened, like what's going to happen now, because the mark of the beast is back and it's propagating again throughout society. And so it wasn't here for a long time, though, because when the mark of the beast comes here, it gets out of control. So a whole bunch of the Nephilim were just destroyed, except for they can't really be eradicated completely. And the reason is because the reason Nephilim can't be eradicated completely is because they're immortals, right? And it's impossible to kill an immortal. You actually can't kill an immortal. There's no way of doing it. There's ways of seriously damaging them and making it very difficult for them to heal, and making it so they take a really long time to heal. That's true. That happened to me. But eradicating them or wiping them out is actually, it can be done because they've taken the tree of life. So there's only two options for the Nephilim. One is the day of judgment. And that is day of judgment. They get cast into the center of the earth, where they will be burned for, essentially we have to burn the mark of the beast out of their biology. And that takes anywhere from 1 trillion to 133 trillion years to burn the mark of the beast out of somebody's biology, depending on, how long they've had it and how severe of a how severe the curse is with that particular person and kind of what they've done. So it's a judgment according to their works and also according to the mark. So the mark has to be burned out, and it can only be burned out in the center of the earth where there's no light. Like literally, light can't touch it, or it'll absorb some energy from the light, and it'll be harder to break down. So it's just got to be totally pitch black, no air. I mean, it is the most miserable thing that anybody could fathom or imagine is the mark of the beast, because they're essentially breathing fire and brimstone, for 1 trillion years, and burning it out. So that's actually how it's to get rid of. So there's several things that happen to the Nephilim. Number one, some of them were destroyed. Okay, in some of them were just wiped out. Like God could do that. Like, for example, He turned the city of Sodom and Gomorrah into salt. Right, and the Nephilim were about to start replicating there too, in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, but they couldn't really turn into Nephilim. The reason they couldn't was because they didn't have the tree of life, and they didn't have the mark of the beast. But the whole thing had turned homosexual, which is essentially what happens. Okay, then people start getting the mark of the beast in there. They start turning into Satanists. Right, one thing follows after another thing, until it comes to a point where, to protect everyone else, God had to wipe it out. So it says in the New Testament, it says that in the book of Revelation, it says that no flesh could be saved except for these times were shortened. And this is true of every great tribulation cycle. If the great tribulation doesn't end, if we don't win, if there's no cycle that makes it so we win, the great tribulation will wipe us all out, and no flesh will be saved. None. Okay? No flesh will be saved. And the reason is that, so if, for example, the Nephilim weren't destroyed, they would have literally wiped out everything. They were doing the same thing everybody's doing now. They were wiping out the soil. They were wiping out the mineral supply. The soil was getting demineralized. And they were literally like eating and devouring human beings that didn't get the mark of the beast. And the mark of the beast started to get really out of control and was taking over. So just at the moment when everybody thought that that he'd won, what happened? God collapsed the firmament and wiped out the Nephilim. Now, what did he do with them? Well, a lot of the Nephilim are right now on. There's a dark. It's like a dark matter planet or an antimatter planet, Nibiru, that hidden planet in the solar system, right? And the Nephilim are on Nibiru, right? They're still there. They just hadn't been allowed to come to Earth for a really long time, and so they're there, and they're very small there because they can't. There's no flesh to eat, right? They've wiped out all their resources. They're essentially like robots, and they're like nothing now, right? So the Nephilim are there, and the old Nephilim, the old generations of Nephilim, the new generation of Nephilim is actually propagating anew from the followers of the Antichrist, okay, in secret. I promise. People are getting the mark of the beast. People are turning into Nephilim, and people from it are being given great power, right? And that power is going to start exponentially compounding as the power of society starts exponentially compounding. It's going to get crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. So what happens is the Nephilim are here again, and people like Enoch are here again. The same thing that happened before is what's happening again, right? And it's not just me. There's a bunch of us. There's a bunch of the righteous on all over the world. There's a bunch of us that are there's old immortals out there, right? So again, the I hope this helped you understand the answer to that question now. Is were they wiped out or are they still here? Okay. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll talk about this stuff from time to time. I'm not going to focus on the Nephilim because the Nephilim, if you really want to know a lot about the Nephilim and a lot about what's going to go on, read my book, The Great Tribulation, Scientifically Explained to King David, when it comes out. I believe that it might be on Amazon now. I gotta check. So check that out. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to go and hope this helped you understand.